Good morning. Today is Wednesday and we are going to reread our book, Pete's Big Lunch. And today we're going to work on fluency. Fluency means that you read nice and smooth and not like a robot. So one way that readers read with fluency is that they notice punctuation. We all know about periods at the end of a sentence. So today we're really going to focus on these two different types of punctuation. Question marks and exclamation marks. Question mark means that you read the sentence like a question, and an exclamation mark means that you read it with excitement. So as we read each page, we're going to pay special attention to see if we can see question marks and exclamation marks, and we'll make sure that we read those sentences like questions or with a lot of excitement to make our reading more fluent. All right, you ready to help me? Pete the cat, Pete's Big Lunch. Oh my gosh, I already see our special punctuation. Look, I see a question mark. So when we read this part, we have to read it like a question. Lunch? And look, I see an exclamation mark. So when we read the sentence, we have to make sure we read it with lots of excitement. Here comes Pete. Okay, on this page I just see periods, so we're just going to read that page normal. It is lunchtime. Pete is ready to eat. All right, you ready to look? Do you see a question mark or an exclamation mark? I do too. Look, it's a question mark. So when we read this sentence, let's read it like a question. What should Pete eat? A sandwich would be nice. Do you see any special quotation marks? No. Punctuation marks? I don't either. All I see is periods. They're not quotation marks. Quotation marks tell us when people are talking. I meant punctuation. Here we go. Yes, Pete wants a sandwich. Pete opens the fridge. Just periods on these pages. He takes out a loaf of bread. He finds a yummy fish. He adds tomato and mayo. I see an exclamation mark. Do you see it? So when we read this sentence down here, we have to read it with lots of excitement. Help me read. Pete looks at his sandwich. It is too small. Something is missing. Pete knows what it needs. His sandwich needs an apple. Ready? Lots of excitement. Pete loves apples. I see an exclamation point again. Do you see it? Here it is. So when we read the sentence, let's read it with lots of excitement. His sandwich needs crackers. Crackers are crunchy. Pete loves crunchy crackers. He looks at his sandwich again. It is still too small. Do you see any question marks or exclamation marks? I don't either. So let's just read this page normal. Pete is very hungry. Pete adds a pickle. Pete adds cheese. Pete adds an egg, 2 hot dogs, a banana, and a can of beans. What do you see? I see it too, the exclamation mark. When we read this sentence, we're going to read it with lots of excitement. Something is missing. Pete adds ice cream. He takes 3 huge scoops. Pete's sandwich is too big for Pete to eat. Pete wonders what to do. Pete thinks and thinks. I see an exclamation mark. So let's read this sentence with lots of excitement. I've got it, Pete says. Pete calls all of his friends. He asks them to come over. Everyone goes to Pete's house. They are all very hungry. Oh, I see a couple of special punctuation marks. Yep, there's a question mark. So when we read this part like a question, there's an exclamation mark. So this part with excitement, Pete shows them his big lunch. Are you hungry? Asks Pete. Pete's sandwich is big enough for everyone. Dig in, says Pete. Pete's sandwich is good. Pete's sandwich is very good. Oh, I see another exclamation mark. Here we go. Pete's sandwich is all gone. Pete's friends are full. They liked Pete's big lunch. Thanks for lunch, Pete's friends say. Thanks for sharing. You're welcome, Pete says. Sharing is cool. So today we were working on reading with fluency, nice and smooth, by noticing when there were question marks and exclamation marks. Now before we go, there's one more thing I want to do with you. I want to practice some word work. Last week in interactive writing, we were talking about these words that are two-syllable words with the E sound on the end. So we can use that in our reading too. Like if we know that this part of the word says yum, and we know that the Y at the end of a two-syllable word sometimes makes the sound E, this word would go like this. Yum-E. Yummy. See how we did that? The Y usually makes the Y sound, but in a two-syllable word, a word that has two claps, yum-E, the E sound is sometimes written with a Y. Okay, let me show you another one. This one has it too. So we see this is a two-syllable word. So we know this Y is going to have the E sound. So if that part of the word says crunch, and this part of the word says E, the word says crunch, E, crunchy. Yeah, like the crunchy crackers. I have two more for you. All right. What sound does the Y at the end of a two-syllable word say? E. So if this part says hungry, hungry. This one's actually a three-syllable word, but it's the same thing. The Y is going to have the E sound. So I'll tell you this part. If this part says ever, and this part says E, every, like everyone shared the sandwich. And the last one, we have the Y at the end of the word. We know that sometimes when Y is at the end of the word, it has the E sound. So if this part says ver, and this part says E, ver, E, very, like the sandwich was very good. So today we did two things. We worked on our fluency by noticing when there were question marks and exclamation marks, and we worked on reading 2 and 1 three-syllable word that had a Y at the end, and in these words the Y makes the E sound at the end. Thank you for reading with me, and I will see you again tomorrow.